Hey, it's me, MLB. I'm back with the final chapter. Please don't kill me for the cliffhanger yesterday. Here is the final part of Blood Rampage, the mini-series. I hope you enjoy the ending. There was a ringing in your ears. That's all. You couldn't hear anything else except for this one high-pitched note that was just so loud it shut down your whole body. Am I alive? You opened your eyes and looked up at the person that you were lying on top of. There was blood everywhere, but you could still feel his heart beating under you. It was slowing down though. The vials! With a shaking hand, you brought the 2 vials to your face so you could see what you were doing, then pulled the cork out of one of them and reached for Rampage's lips, prying them open to pour the contents in. E, you croaked out, unable to hear your own voice. You need to drink. E? His eyes were glassing over and his body was going more limp. He coughed a few times as you poured the liquid in, his shallow gaze falling on you as some of the contents of the vial dribbled from the side of his mouth. E? You asked again. E? With the weakest smile, his eyes went blank and his whole form relaxed as his soul left his body. E! You cried pitifully, the ringing in your ears slowly subsiding, and in place, replacing the ringing, the sounds of shouting from the police for medical support to be dispatched immediately. You looked up and around you, hands pressed to Rampage's chest that had gone still. He's... You choked out, wildly looking from police officer to police officer. Ambulance is on its way, someone called. Please, you croaked, unable to speak in full sentences as an officer cautiously approached and crouched by Rampage's head, pressing his fingers to the carotid artery to feel for the pulse of life. You waited, panting and staring at him. He's gone. He turned and called to another officer over his shoulder, not even acknowledging your existence. No, please, you gotta get him to the hospital, please, we need to save him. You started pounding your hands onto Idro's chest, doing a makeshift CPR, but you didn't know what you were doing, really, and it was all it was doing was jolting his body. The ambulance came tearing around the corner and you looked up. Oh, thank God, the officer said as he stood up from beside you. Please, over here, you called, begging the paramedics with your eyes as they jumped out of the van and ran to the back to grab their things. It's okay, E, it's okay, you mumbled, tears starting to flood down your cheeks. They were running now, coming towards you, and you sat back as they approached. But instead they stepped around you and Rampage and ran into the store to attend the others inside. The feeling in your chest when you realised that they didn't care about him and had no intention of saving his life nearly killed you on the spot. No! You screamed, being lifted up by 2 police officers as they dragged you from his lifeless body. She needs to come to the police station. It appears that she knows him, one of the guys said as you screamed and fought them. I'm not going anywhere, I'm staying with E, you shouted, ripping one arm out of the officer's grip and shoving the cork end of your vial into your mouth so that you could pull it free with your teeth. No one cares about him except me. Let me be with him. She's gonna suicide, another officer shouted. What's in the vial? Stop her! But it was too late. You'd already drank the mixture and were still fighting ferociously. I want to be with him. I want to be with him, you shouted over and over. Take her away, you heard another voice call. Then you started to feel a little funny in the head. Your body didn't feel like it was yours anymore, and a white light started to overtake the colours around you. You stopped fighting and just stood there, slowly being lifted up off the ground and out of your body. She's collapsed, you heard someone yell, and you looked down to see your body in the police officer's arms below. What's going on? You wondered. Then the white light overtook everything, and you blacked out. Yen! Yen, are you home? There was a voice calling your name and you stirred. With eyes still closed, you scrunched your brows and then slowly opened your eyes and looked around a foreign room. Huh? You asked yourself. You looked down at yourself and noted that you looked younger. Your voice sounded younger too. Yen! There was that voice again. You got out of bed and walked to the window to look out and see who was calling for you. There, below, was someone who looked vaguely familiar to you, but at first you couldn't quite place them. Then it hit you. Ichiro! You shouted with disbelief as the black-haired boy standing outside your house looked up. Yeah? He called, being a little confused by the way you had shouted his name. Come to the front door, you called, trying to open your window so he could hear you better. Front door! You shouted again with your lips smooshed through the small opening that you managed to make in the windowsill. Okay, he nodded with a sharp-toothed grin before bounding to the front of your house. Seeing as this was a place that you'd never been in before, it took you a second or two to find the front door. Then you yanked it open and threw your arms around Ichiro as he stood there. Hey, what happened? He asked as you squeezed him tight. Are you okay? You died. Then you paused. What? What are you saying? Are you not feeling well? Do you have a fever? He asked with concern, placing his palm to your forehead. Wait, what am I saying? You wondered as you stood there. You were having a recollection of something that happened to him? But was it a dream? You were a villain, and your name was Blood Rampage, and... A villain? That's not very manly, he replied. I want to be a hero, like Crimson Riot. You just looked at him. How old are you? How old are we? You asked him. 15. Why? He replied, still with his hand on your forehead. You're not feeling hot, but you're definitely not well. Come and lie down on the lounge, and I'll get a cold cloth or something, he offered. You nodded, and he took your hand and led you back to the house and directed you to lie down on the lounge. You did so, staring at the ceiling as you racked your brains to try and work out what had happened. This dream had felt all too real, but at the same time, it didn't. Wasn't I 21? You asked yourself. Have I gone back in time? Then everything hit you as you thought those words. You remembered. You had gone to a quirky wielder who had given you a serum to send you back in time to an age that you wanted. You had gotten 2 vials, one for you and one for the villain that you'd fallen for, Blood Rampage. You wanted to give the 2 of you a chance to start over, and this was it. It had worked. But because you had opted to jump into his timeline, your life would be completely different. But his would be the same, only that you would be there to help him help things turn out better this time around. Here's a sponge, Ichiro said brightly as he walked back to the room. I hope it's cold enough. You sat up and grabbed him in a hug around his waist again, and he stopped with surprise. Yin? I'll always be here, E. You're going to be an amazing hero. I just know it. You're going to get into UA, and you're going to do amazing things. That's what I was coming to tell you, he said with surprise. I'm entering the entrance exam for UA next week. How did you know? And then he goes on to be the Red Riot that we know and love, and there ends Blood Rampage. I hope you enjoyed it. Tomorrow and for the next few days, I'll do a few more highly anticipated one-shots. Okay, well, not really. But then we'll be getting back into the books with the Mirio spin-off series from Rapid Fate Online titled Takedown. I'll see you all then.